welcome to episode 16 of the IP3 podcast. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined today by none other than Adams herself. Uh, Today, we're going to be talking about. We actually have a lot of different topics today, more than
Yeah,
usual.
for real.
So we're going to be giving a little Amsterdam preview. Our main topic for the episode is how to target a known metagame. Um, it could be argued that the meta isn't. It's certainly not quite as known as it was about a week and a half ago. But
I
it's still
I think
it's still
about half the
pretty
meta is
similar.
pretty known.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair. Um, but yeah, so we had a BNR announcement, ban and restricted announcement that touched CC, Living Legend, and Blitz.
A
Um,
lot happened.
yeah, we found out about Skirmish season prizing, which is pretty sweet. Like almost
Juiced skirmish season.
very juiced skirmish season in terms of prizing, with one teeny tiny little caveat of thing that is annoying about it. Uh, Armory deck Bolton is available now, and honestly, it's kind of sweet. There's some cool stuff in there. Um, I think that is actually my conclusion after playing with some of the new cards. I think the Bolton Armory deck is actually a little bit a better of a proposition for like a new player product than the KO deck. Not by a huge
Mm.
margin, but um, the powerful extra stuff in there seems to be a little more spread out and a little less singularly Savage Sash
It's
focused.
not just Savage Sash. To be fair, I mean, Run Roughshod is a ridiculous
A
card. It's
hell
just
of a
not a
card.
flashy. It's just not flashy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's first we'll start by diving into the specifics of the BNR announcement.
Yeah. We have
So
some we have some historic stuff going on in this BNR because for the first time ever, a card was banned but not all colors of it was banned, or more specifically, only specific colors of Bonds of Ancestry were banned in Haza Constructed. So you can't play blues, you can't play yellows, you are still allowed to play reds, and there was specifically in the BNR announcement a mention, hey, Katsu, we know that this is hitting you collaterally, it's a targeted ban at Zen, allegedly there's an expansion slot card in Rosetta that will help Katsu out in compensation.
maybe they'll
Unless
finally
it's a
print underwhelming Gust Wave.
isn't that just Descendant?
If you ask the Zen players, I don't think so.
Okay, you know what? That's fair. I don't know. I don't know how they make that card not just juice Zen more, unless it's like is a Katsu spec, which I guess is possible. Um, I think this ban was a good step. I don't know about you. I don't think it actually did enough. I think this actually made a lot of Zen decks better because they ended up trimming the fat on like bad combo cards and just playing good cards.
Yeah, it's. I think my. Sorry. So, admittedly, I have not been playing or testing extensively with Zen. So, there's my caveat: is that this is assumptions and observations. But this ban course corrects the admitted lack of testing of a 9 bonds version of Zen by the LSS devs. They even said it in the announcement, which is reasonable, right? It's one thing I love about them. They're willing to admit a mistake or an oversight, and that's kind of what they did here. But so this course corrects the deck to versions, presumably to versions that they had much more extensive testing into. Um, when you don't just get to run 9 Descendant and 9 bonds, you're a little more fragile to disruption, right? It a little, not dramatically, but definitely more.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. You only get one double bonds turn in the game now.
yeah,
They just also are the best color still.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't. I suspect that in time we will find that this was not uh, substantial enough of a touch to dethrone Zen. which again might not even be their goal. They might be like, nope, Zen's kind of supposed to be the level 0, and everybody needs to figure out how to ride this ride, I guess.
I feel like the issue is I don't think enough heroes have options to ride the ride. Like
Uh,
we have tortured Enigma so much in the name of making Zen a playable matchup, and at best it's like a 40-60, and it takes like 30 of your 80 deck slots to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The there are good disruption cards in generic that obviously everyone can play. Some better than others, but you know, New is a deck that runs those disruptive cards, has extras of her own that play into her own game plan, and all the reaction stuff to punish attempting to not fall victim to them. Uh, and even that has not seemed to like completely hold back Zen. If you miss on that disruption one time, you're gonna get 30.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I suspect they might need to apply more light touches in the future. But
Where do you even go from here, though?
oh, easily
Like,
Stride
what's
of Reprisal.
next?
They mentioned it in the article, and
That's
I think
true.
that's
That's true.
I'm almost surprised they didn't do that in conjunction with this, because
Mm-hmm.
then you have getting rid of yellow and blue bonds gets people playing versions of the deck that more closely mirror what they were testing, assume, and then hitting Stride just takes 3+ free points of value out of the deck per game. Which hopefully just pulls them back within striking distance for more more of the meta. But time will
Yeah,
tell.
that's true. I just wish that you couldn't banish Crouching Tigers to Art of War. Like, if Stride of Reprisal you actually had to play the Tiger, it would be such a more interesting card. Even
Yeah.
if it just made the Tiger unbanished. If it was a ninja card and not a. I mean, there is the around the table that card exists, right?
Pouncing Paws, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was the most. So when they announced that, okay, cool, Zen is going to be the Crouching Tiger ninja, I'm like, awesome. Let me do cat synergy things. Chase the Tail, awesome card. Very powerful.
Chase the
And
Tail, very cool.
and
You have to
and
work for it though.
right, and but makes it worth it to do these other things that are relatively underrated so that you can play a
Mm-hmm.
1 for 7 looking kind of thing. 1 for 7
Mm-hmm.
go again, no less. Um, but as soon as in our testing, as soon as it started like congealing around the once it became obvious that like, oh no, this is kind of going to be a bonds deck also to a degree, and play a bunch of 100 wins, and I don't know, just it wasn't nearly as into the cat stuff as I wanted it to be. So
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Just
yeah,
Katsu that doesn't have to hit. Yeah. It's
yeah,
just.
basically, and a better armor suite. That's at the end of the day, that armor suite is incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk a little bit more about CC later on when we target,
Yeah.
or when we talk about the upcoming events,
So
and how to target a known meta.
so speaking about needing constant disruption, we called this one. I think we've mentioned this multiple times on the
Yep.
podcast. Living Legend, Channel Lake Frigid, no longer restricted. We get it back, BV. I'm so excited. I get to play Icelander in LL in Skirmish season and not feel like a fool about it. Just a little bit like a fool about it.
Yeah. I I don't think you're a fool at all for it. I think it's interesting because I think there's gonna be people that play the classic LL'd heroes. You're gonna have some newer players that maybe Zen's the first like, ooh, this is like the deck. I'm gonna build Zen because it's also in the grand scheme a very affordable best deck.
Yeah, for the record, Stubby's an insane deck in Living
Yeah.
Legend.
Mm-hmm. Uh, and yeah, so I think there will be some Zen players who might not have experienced the Icelander love when she was around in CC, and you will just get to abuse them mercilessly with Channel Lake Frigid, and it's gonna be beautiful.
See, the issue is Zen plays a lot of blues. A
And belittle Minnow.
lot
Like,
of lot of blues.
yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I don't know. We'll see. I finally feel like I have the tools to beat Chain though, which is nice. Because that matchup should be Icelander favorite, I think, all things considered.
We'll see about that. Nah,
We
it's
will see
it's
about
it's
that.
it's very possible. The fact that there's the two best singular pieces of disruption in that format, and Icelander is still just the one hero that gets to play them both at instant speed. So,
Mhm.
um,
We've never actually played that matchup, have we?
no,
I don't. I don't think
no,
we
we,
have.
we've
That'll be
played
interesting.
we've played Viserai and Vincent pretty extensively,
Hmm.
but no chain.
And so, for the record about how to build Icelander with this, I do think, unfortunately, you have to build a pretty true Bullander in terms of your main 60. You really need 9 7 power poppers to be able to remotely have a chance into Prism, and also to do any sort of impression of keeping pace with Starvo. And that Starvo with the Frosty 4 also includes you need all 3 Sync and all 3 Fate. And then in your sideboard, make sure that you have Encase and Icebind for Lexis, because if they don't pat Trench, you just get to lock them out for the whole game. Definitely not like Battle Hardened Finals where you can see how that works or anything.
Streamed by the well, I think it was before they were Savage Feats. I think it was it? I
That
don't
was like
remember if it was
right
launched in.
on. Was that their first event as Savage Feats? It was
You know,
right around
it
that
could have
time,
been
I think.
back at the dawn of Savage Feats when the legendary Rhea Adams went back to back with Icelander.
Anyways, yeah, very excited for CLF in Living Legend. Of course, Ice Lexi also gets to play it. Starvo gets an Ice Blue Block 3 back. I think that makes both of those decks stronger, but not in the same way that Icelander, because Icelander gets to cheat an extra turn out of that CLF, which cannot be understated how huge that is.
Yeah,
Sparvo and Lexi really are only going to keep CLF around for one turn cycle. Icelander is very good at doing it for 2, if not 3, of your opponent's turns.
yeah. I'm excited for the implications of the format. Like you said, obviously, you know, uh, Stubby Zen is going to be terrifying,
Mhm.
and releasing one of the tools to fight back against that, at least to some extent, is going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. Term. Last but
And
not
then the last
least,
format. Mm-hmm.
none
Well,
other
it is
than
least. It's the least life format.
that's probably fair. The least like 1v1 format probably.
No, least life. Like the young
Oh, life. I
heroes.
thought you said liked. I was
I
like, oh
mean,
no. Uh,
also the least like format,
I mean, I
but
didn't totally just out our
one of our
mild
later
dislike
complaints.
of Blitz, but
Oh, it's not a
yeah.
mild dislike for me. I'm very, very vocal about despising Blitz, but
On the bright side, it seems like LSS have realized the niche that Blitz probably should occupy in terms of being a really good onboarding learning
mm,
format and a little
mhm,
less the competitive side. But
mhm.
we digress. Aether Wildfire and Aether Flare.
Yeah, so Blaze is
Both
just dead,
back.
right?
Uh yeah, I mean there's no more cards that deal
Obviously,
arcane damage, right? They just can't even field a
zero.
full deck. Yeah.
Yeah, she took away. They took away all of her ways to play cards at instant speeds. There is no more opt generation left. So like, she literally doesn't work. I I haven't dabbled with Blaze much because I don't own one, and so I haven't felt the need to test much. It's my understanding that she is obviously very weakened, but she is still very real. Um, there's a Blitz Battle Harden this weekend in New Jersey. I'm sure that we will find out how real that sentiment is. But Red Emeritus Scolding, 2 in the same turn, even one from Blaze Ability, one from Striders. Good cards.
Yeah. I think it's cool. Blaze I think is going to play like a lot of people always wanted Kano to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's not combo for 60, but it is more turns in a game of like, all right, cool. Here's 12 arcane. Like,
Mm-hmm.
here's good sized chunks intermittently, and yeah. But yeah, Blaze is far from dead. if for no other reason than it's kind of hard to play against wizards sometimes. Um, and yeah, breaking action point parity is extremely powerful, and there's still good arcane spells out there.
Yeah, what's her ceiling right now? 17 arcane on the dual turn? If it's Red Emeritus for 6, Metacarpus for 1, Red Emeritus for 6, Metacarpus for 1, Waning Moon is 14 and 3, 17? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of arcane in one turn for a 20 life format.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's true. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that Crucible's gone too. So yeah,
Crucible is drawn, yeah. Otherwise, it would be very good
be
in some
more of a
matchups.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, Spindle would be a much realer card.
Yeah. But moral of the story, Blaze is gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
Honorable mention also, Crown of Seeds also banned officially. This was announced a while back. Uh, should not be surprising to anyone, especially if you've read Terra. We were joking before we started the episode about how insane it would be if you could pay one resource to Crown of Seeds your arsenal away, get a card back, prevent a point of damage, sink that second resource into Rampart of the Ram's Head for defense, block breakpoints, and then that last resource you just turn it into a might token to swing
With
on your own
Terra
turn
ability.
with Terra
Mm-hmm.
ability. It would be insane. You just that play
Would
we just
be,
described is 3 points of value, costing 0 cards from deck.
yeah.
Uh, just be happy
And
Crown
it,
of Seeds is
and
never
it
going to be in Blitz again.
3 values, 0 cards from deck, and also that's 3 different breakpoints you just described because it's 1, 1, and 1.
Yep.
So you can staple 2 3 blocks and then a Titan's Fist and get like meaningful value and not just a 1 block 3. It's insane. Totally makes sense. Yeah.
Just yeah, should stay gone. Crown of Seeds is great. CNLL, the
Crown
other
of
crazy
Seeds
busted
is
stuff.
too great.
Yes, it is.
So let me pose a short hypothetical here. Do you think we'll ever see LL Blitz, or is that format just way too broken?
So let me ask you. I think the format was called Hearthstone. I think they call it the Wild format,
Oh, I
and that's basically uh, Hearthstone's legacy format.
okay.
And as you'd expect, the more cards and synergies and things are available, the more degenerate stuff gets. Um, and whereas, obviously bans need to happen and stuff like that occasionally, or restrictions in old formats. I think it would be they would have to neuter it way too much to make it a playable format that isn't just like
Yeah,
killed you on turn 0 ish type. Um,
yeah. I mean, I think the whole format right now would just be Skeleton, Viscerai, Racing, Arcane Spam, Icelander, as this is
that's
just
not
like the
even
only
that's
2 decks.
it's not even a race anymore. I think Viscerai would stomp that out between Skeleton and Vexing Quillhand.
Really, you think so?
I do.
Interesting. Sounds like we should try this because
I
I
think
think
we should.
Arcane Spam Icelander would
I'm
win it.
down. I'm
Oh,
I'm in.
we should try this.
This sounds like a great. Uh, we'll
I'm gonna
record these
write
games.
that
This is great.
down. Yeah, I'm gonna hold you to that.
I just wonder, like, I don't know if you remember Zero just like nuking people to the moon on turn 2 with this deck when it was legal.
Turn two. Turn two is ancient. Arcane Spam Icelander killed people turn 1 all the time.
Excuse me. On
Because
on Viscerai's second turn, not on like
yeah,
overall turn 2.
yeah, no. A lot of Icelander games went, I go first, I leak 3 damage, you take a turn, you are dead.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll
We'll
we'll,
see,
we'll
we'll
put our
see.
money where our mouths are.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. So I don't think Blitz LL is gonna gonna ever see the light of day. Which honestly, I'm only sad about because I don't have a cold foil young Viserai because they didn't let that
They just
exist
don't exist,
because
right?
he was
Yeah.
the first thing to LL ever.
So sad.
uh, um, but we have Blitz and LL for the next Skirmish season. Uh, mentioned earlier that there's some sweet prizes
Mm-hmm.
there.
Good combo there.
Yeah. Um, First prize for winning a skirmish gets you a cold foil blaze, which is dope. That is some sweet,
I
sweet
am
swag.
I'm very interested in that prize. Yeah.
Yes, I have not been this like, you know, you go to an event and you want to win. Of course, it's fun to win. Winning is fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, ooh, okay. I can't. I'm not pulling any punches until I have one of these cold foil blazes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I think that's sweet. It's beautiful. I'm sure it looks astoundingly awesome in person. Uh, I think the one thing they could have done to just completely fix the availability issue, because right now you can get rainbow foils from conventions, which secondary market prices of those are $100 and up, I believe, from what I understand.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then you need to win one of these potentially Blitz skirmishes to win a blaze. So a ton of people are going to be completely locked out of being able to play this legal hero in their Blitz skirmishes, which I don't love.
Yeah.
Uh,
Don't love that either. There's a
I,
really simple solution for that they're not doing though, right?
they could have just put plain old non-foil like promo tokens also as a part of this. And cool,
Yeah.
you come to a skirmish, here's a young Blaze
Yeah.
hero card, and if you wanted to play it, now you can.
The non-foil tokens should be participation prizes. It would cost them
Next
a
to nothing.
non-zero, but it would cost them next to nothing. Let's be real, and it would foster so much goodwill in the community.
It's when they errated Briar. They shipped like with
Yeah.
an armory kit at some point. They shipped out a bunch of like, cool, here are non-foil errated adult Briars for
Mm-hmm.
people to use. And it's the only
You're
thing
in
I
the
don't love
frame
about
right now.
this. Yeah, on brand, on brand. I'm glad I actually changed it because it would be really awkward if you're like, you're in the frame right now, and I was still in Shadow Blade land. uh, but yeah, Cold Foil Blaze, sweet first place prize. Top four gets Cold Foil Channel Mount Heroic, which is
Speaking of
incredibly
Briar,
timely,
mm-hmm.
and given that Rosetta is around the corner, and also like really awesome in terms of there's no Ball Lightning maybe has a place, but for obvious reasons, that's not this promo. But like Channel Mount Heroic, when you think of the old Briar decks at this point, they were Channel Mount Heroic decks.
When you think of Arya at this point, I mean, I think CMH might just be like the emblematic card for Tales of Arya, even more so than like CLF, I would argue.
Poor Channel Thunderstep. It's okay. Soon, maybe.
We've got Lightning Wizards coming. Channel Thunderstep is going to be a real card. It's
Yep.
going to be really cool. Probably, maybe.
Yeah. But yes, so I love that it's a top four prize and not like a finalist prize. I think I like that they're, you know, it's nice when prize structures aren't quite so top heavy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and I like top four is a lot more achievable than the finals. It just is. So um, that's awesome. And then our participation prizes for the skirmish season are Rainbow Foil, Extended Art, Earth Form, and Lightning Form, which are two new cards from Rosetta. They each have on hits to make their respective embodiment token,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know what the powers of each of them are yet.
All right, speculation time.
5 and 7.
I
I
agree.
think
I think because they're two blocks, that we'll
Yes.
see them on rate offensively.
I agree. And I think also just we've seen in like heavy hitters and such there were two block 3 for 7s that all the wager cards were if this is connecting, you're getting more than your 7 total value for this card, and I think they'll just follow that pattern here too.
It's a very good like drafts common power level.
The
formula.
lightning one costs 1, the earth one costs 3 is how we got to those numbers too. But yeah, they look beautiful. I can't wait to get to spoiler season and
there is one prize you left off here.
Oh, that's true.
Just a Nick playmat, which is a participation random raffle. So there's one of these, and it's just given to a random entrant in the skirmish. Don't have to place well to get it, which I think given how generous the pricing already is, the random playmat is really cool. Great idea. This whole pricing in general is just really good LSS. I wish there were non-foil blazes.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Literally only complaint.
The only note is give people token blaze. That's the only
Yeah, I mean,
negative.
and this, I expressed my disdain for Blitz earlier, but there are Living Legend skirmishes this season. I am legitimately excited to play a skirmish season for the first time in a hot minute.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. So obviously, what the realm skirmish is down in Mansfield, Ohio, which is not super close. Like, I think I'm actually gonna drive out for it. I'm gonna drive an hour plus to go play in an LL skirmish because LL's
Yeah, why not?
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, Coalfield Blaze will probably just be like $150.
Oh, minimum. I think that's like the floor. I think
mm-hmm.
early, like first weekend, you'll probably have some sales in the $300 to $400 range.
All right, well that's optimistic.
That's probably a little high.
You might see one go with a 2 on the front number.
That's fair because there's probably enough skirmishes that,
yeah.
And again, it still is only a young hero, so a certain amount of people are just going to be like, well, it's not an adult, so not remotely interested too. But yeah, Armory deck Bolton is really cool.
Milb.
I think it's a good Milb. Man, love Bolton. I think it's a really good product. I think there's only one thing that I would like to see out of the Armory decks going forward, and so all of the so the Bolton deck had 4 new pieces of equipment. They're all majestic. They're really cool. I don't know why they're just rainbow foil when one would assume that there's not going to be a window to print 4 light or light warrior equipments until we hit like Monarch or something in a year. And I don't know why these can't just be cold foil. Especially when you could just make them like promo rarity within the set, which still leaves you the ability to print it at cold foil in a expansion set in the future. But yeah, I just don't know why they need to be rainbow foil and not cold foil. Like, it's just, I'm sure again that cold foiling is a little bit more expensive than rainbow foiling, I would assume, at least a little bit, but not like make or break on a product level, especially when it's just these handful of cards.
So half of the deck cards are rainbow foil too, right? It's like half and half.
Only new ones. So this Bolton deck was all non-foil except for Saving Grace. There was 2 non-foils and 1 rainbow foil,
mm-hmm.
which makes sense so that you can get both out into the population for players when it's a new card. I love that they do that. I think that is a wise, considerate decision to make. But like, I don't know. Why can't the equipment just also be cold foil? It'd be sweet. Make it promo rarity. It just doesn't take anything away, and
it's probably about like adding extra print sheets, right? Because you can do all of the rainbow foil cards on one rainbow foil print sheet, but if you want to do rainbow foil main deck cards and cold foil equipment, you are having to run the printers extra times comparatively. I would guess. I'm not an expert by any means. I don't know that I care that much. I'm already a bit disillusioned because like I will never have full cold foil equipment anyways because every deck ever plays Tunic, and cold foil Tunics are unattainably expensive for even more than the average player, like for 99% of players. And so I just I'm kind of okay with just my equipment suite is gonna be mismatched and not necessarily all cold foil, and it just kind of is what it is. I don't know. I appreciate the desire for the bling. I don't know that this is actually a problem that I'm like bemoaning myself about.
To call it a problem would be a little too severe. It's not a problem. It's just like, I don't know. It'd be cool if they were cold foil. People like cold foils, right? Like,
do you know where I do expect we will see these with a cold foiling treatment? I would be shocked if not all of them, then the best of these made it into the next batch of gold foils for ProQuest season.
I think I like that even worse. Or like
Oh
I would
no.
like
Okay, well I ruined it.
if you go like the extremes, you're like cool. There's rainbow foils and then there's like gold cold foil. Like that just I don't know because then it's just okay. Well now it does exist, but it's like the cold foil blaze where it's like extremely rare,
I
extra pricey.
I expect that to be real, so I hate to put
That's
that
fair.
thought out into the universe then.
I don't know, and maybe like we'll probably get maybe all of these when we go back to Monarch in like 8 or 9 months. But if we don't, then I don't know. I think it's cool that cold foils exist, and I just want them in more places.
Reasonable.
Yeah. All right. Well, on to our main topic, which is how to target a known meta. So we've got this weekend there is a CC 5K sponsored put on
Mm-hmm.
by the Realm Games over in New Jersey. Adjoining with it is a Blitz Battle Harden on Sunday.
Yes.
Rhea is
I
going
will
to
be
be
there
in
for both of
attendance.
them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will be playing bad decks at both of them.
But you're gonna have fun. It's gonna be
I
great.
will have fun.
So it's Enigma and CC,
Yes.
and
Solitaire Enigma, which I
Solitaire Enigma.
shared with the world today. Where it's just my life mission to take the worst draft chaff you've ever seen and make it a CC playable card. I did it with Raging Onslaught. I did it did it with Red Ice Bolt. It's Sigil of Solitude time, baby.
Sigil of Solitude.
So good. Card is so good.
I have been abused by it one time.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. See it. Turns out I want one card for value. It's good. Surprise,
Mm-hmm.
surprise. And then how about Blitz?
Uh, I know I should be playing Zen. I own no Zen cards, so I'm bringing out Old Faithful, which I think I have lying around here somewhere. I'm playing Prism, and not the Awakener of Soul. We're playing Prism.
OG. Prism with
Yeah,
no
cold foil.
post moniker, just Prism.
Yes, just Prism.
Uh, and then the weekend after is Pro Tour Amsterdam, which
Yes.
is going to have the same CC format as the Realm 5K. Both events subject to the recent BNR announcement. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. But
And neither of us will be at Amsterdam, unfortunately.
tragically true.
Yeah.
We'll have plenty of friends going, but not
Yes.
no representatives from the IP3, which we've decided is really tragic because we all could have attended. I think
Mm-hmm.
Alex, yeah, no, we all could have been there if we wanted to, which is a little tragic, but it happens. Turns out there's more to life than card games, from what I've been told. uh, but known metagames. So obviously
Mm-hmm.
Zen. Zen is the
Just
Zen is it. The if you can't talk about this format without starting with Zen.
yes.
Um,
The clear, undisputed best deck. I
yeah,
don't think it's particularly close.
I concur. Uh, so when quote unquote pro players or aspiring pros or people prepping for major events or specific events try and piece together what they feel like they should be playing to give themselves the best chance to win. Um, there's usually sort of a few categories that
Mm-hmm.
that decks will fall into, or a lens with which to view a given format. Uh, usually, it just gets referred to as sort of like level 0, level 1, level 2. Fab has its own special level that exists sort of outside of the first of those 3 levels, which we'll get to in a little bit. But usually those levels break down like this. Level 0, play the best deck. Zen. It's Zen.
That's it.
Zen is the best
It
deck.
is Zen.
If you want
Yes.
to be playing the best deck, you should be playing Zen.
Yes.
Level 1, find a deck that beats the best deck. At least
Mm-hmm.
supposedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So finding a level 1 deck sort of requires you to identify either potential weaknesses of the level 0 deck, or the most effective ways to combat it. Right, like in some metas it's like, oh well, can you straight race? Do you need to be disrupting left and right? Can you defend hyper efficiently to burn through their power cards and sort of outlast them? Or do you need to
Mm.
sort of figure out a fully different, like unconventional axis to attack from? Um, in our current meta, I think most people have probably found that just trying to race Zen is probably not going to go well.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think Dash can do it if she's lucky and she sets up a pounder turn 0 in addition to starting with a pounder. And that's about it. Mechanologist also, of course, has access to T-Bones, which can take away a lot of Zen's value in the early game that he
yeah,
would have in the late game.
I think that's probably my take. So as much as Boost Dash is an aggro deck, the reason I think found some success during national season, uh, in the hands of Dan Mackay and Hayden Dale, probably others, but those are the two that I know top 8 of their respective nats that come to mind. Is they are very consistent linear aggro decks, but they had just had a specific set of cards that helped negate some of Zen's explosiveness, and uh, you know turns out Stride of Reprisal, getting that extra Tiger in hand is way less good if it's not your Art of War turn, if you're not ready for it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
if on an early turn Dash gets to go T-Bone, Magnetic Shockwave, congrats, your armor's gone. I hope you've transcended in the game. I hope you have something to do with this Tiger. You're never going to get to use your Shuko value again. It gave them a unique disruptive angle combined with their pretty solid racing output. But even that, I'm not entirely certain is consistent enough at combating Zen.
I mean, yeah, we're going to say that about every single deck in this tier. That's
Yep.
what makes Zen the best deck, instead of having us in a triangle meta where he has a clear counter and that deck has a clear counter. So just keep that in mind with all of the caveats that we talk about in this tier 1. They have an asterisk of, if they get lucky enough to pull off the disruptive or racing or whatever with respect to Zen. Because there's going to be a bit of luck involved when you're taking down the best deck.
Right.
So I think, I think the alternative to racing Zen is disrupting him, right? Zen likes to go wide, obviously, so you can look at things like Red in the Ledger and Azalea specialization. If that's actually enough is a different question. Zen has a Frigid 7 armor, and Azalea needs like 2 buffs before she's starting to go over the top of that armor suite comfortably. She also plays a lot of 0 for 3s in the form of those pumps, which don't race a lot of the 0 for 4 math that Zen is throwing at his opponents pretty consistently. So really, if she whiffs on one turn cycle, the game just kind of ends on the spot.
I think that, yeah, and I think again most of these level 1 decks come down to that aspect. If Azalea, draws the right cards early and can get on the front foot early, and use Codex, recur the Red in the Ledgers, that's really good. But okay, all my red in the ledgers were in the bottom half of my deck. Guess I didn't do remotely enough to disrupt you this game, and I just die.
Yeah.
Dash. Oh, well, I didn't set up a free item on turn 0. I didn't see enough T-Bone type effects early to disrupt you setting up that 7-card hand power play. I'll die.
Mm.
Oh, I'm new. All I could do this turn is, just a nick on a blue infect and like threaten 8 damage on 2 cards. Conventionally, that's pretty good math, but Zen wants nothing more than just to take 8 on a turn and say, yes, I would love to start with all of my cards. So each of the decks in this sort of level 1 tier kind of have the potential to just miss, it would seem.
Mm.
I think the one that is least likely to just miss in that way is probably Victor.
Yep.
Just because the way he's extracting value, is in defending a little more than any of these other heroes in this tier. And then I'd say the last one I think I'd probably mention is probably Riptide. Riptide has a...
It's what Hayden Dale is theorizing about Amsterdam if he was going, right? We saw that Twitter post, which is very interesting.
Yeah, Alright, so if I was going to Amsterdam at this point, I would have been like, cool, I'm gonna learn Zen because I actually enjoy aggro mirrors, aggro matchups. I really liked the chain mirror.
He's crazy.
Maybe a little bit, but I think they can be skill testing in their own way. I know that's not always how it's going to be, right? Sometimes one chain gets all of their Art of Wars and the other player banishes theirs. But the good aggro games are, I don't know, tend to be at least fun for me. But if I wasn't playing Zen for some reason, I think I would be between Riptide and Dash.
Yep. I mean, very respectable choices for sure.
It would probably come down to how each of those felt into New secondarily, because I expect New to be probably the second most represented deck in Amsterdam. So
I think Riptide is quite good into New, right? Because just like she sneezes and all of Riptide's traps are online.
That's true. Yeah. So if that proved to be the case, yeah, I think there'd be a good chance I'd be on Riptide for it.
Yeah, I mean, respectable. Collapsing Trap is a
hell of a drug.
Really, really good card.
Yeah. All right, so we've established
that's
our
level 1
decks. Mm-hmm. They you would hope have at least a 50-50 to positive matchup into your level 0 deck.
Yeah.
Level 2.
But Kevin, yeah, what happens if we expect everyone to be playing Zen? So then everyone shows up on New and Victor and Riptide and Dash. I should just play a deck that's good into those decks, right?
Well, Rhea, I'm so glad you asked.
About it.
Yeah. So level 2, play the deck that beats the decks that are all showing up trying to beat the best deck. If you go there and you're like, all right, in say 8 rounds of CC, so there's some caveats to this also because split format events also introduce a different variable into the thinking here. And depending on what percentage of the room you expect to be on Zen versus other options, if you're in a split format event and you're really confident in your drafting abilities, you're like, okay, if I just give up 2 games to Zen, but I'm confident that I have a really good chance of 6-0ing those other rounds, you could play a deck that's going to prey on everything else in the room, rely on your quality limited skills, and have and feel like you've given yourself a solid shot to end up X2, X3, X4, and in contention for some of those top spots.
Yep, absolutely.
I would say in a non-split format Pro Tour, I think the level 2 idea falls apart a little bit more. just
Mhm.
because in more rounds you're going to
You're
find that
you're
zero
more
percent
likely to
matchup.
see the turn 0. Mhm.
Um, but I think in particular for split format events, the level 2 and our special level decks all gain a little extra oomph. But also, this
For
assumes that you're confident in your limited skills.
Yeah, for the record, we are pro mono format Pro Tours. Please bring them back, LSS, or at
Not
least
always.
I
Just
I
just like
am.
I want them like
Listen,
one a
it's
year.
really simple. It's really simple. 3 Pro Tours a year and Worlds, one CC, one draft, one split format Pro Tour, and then split format Worlds. It's that simple.
Oh,
Just
you
please.
want a fully limited Pro Tour?
Absolutely. Yeah, why not?
I'm intrigued. I hadn't really thought
If
about
the
that.
if the draft format is, I would love an all MST draft Pro Tour. That'd be sick.
I'm with you. That actually sounds really
Format's
dope.
great.
Yeah.
Format is so fun in skill testing.
Uh. Yeah. No, man. Now I'm just thinking about draft VTs. That sounds so cool. Um. So yes. So sorry.
Okay,
The level two. The level
back
two
to tier
thinking.
two.
Yes. Back to level two. For this current format, the two heroes that come to mind for me are, and actually we should probably, there's probably one more that should be on this list. Um, the two that
I'm
I
gonna
put
read
down
your
here,
mind after the two you read out. I'm gonna read your mind on the third one.
okay, Enigma,
Mhm.
Kano,
Yeah,
and
Prism.
yep,
Yeah,
that is, yeah. So the
we're on the same wavelength.
um oh, and you know what? I should probably just honorable mention to KO on the level one, just because sometimes you just run people over with big numbers.
Yeah, I don't know that he really is targeting Zen in any ways. He's more like Zen with a flatter matchup spread across the board, I feel.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. But I feel like his Zen matchup isn't like so much worse than like 50-50, and I think the matchup to the other stuff is still fine, but I digress. Not the
Yeah.
point. We're on level 2. Enigma, Kano, Prism. They're decks that you would feel have a really strong matchup into a lot of the level 1 decks.
New and Victor and Riptide and yeah.
Yeah. Azalea, yeah, just things that historically have trouble with illusionists, or that Kano just categorically has a good matchup into.
And I think, by the way, there's a pattern here that is not coincidental, where a lot of the level 1 decks um, play a very fair fair flesh and blood in like a traditional sense. Of course, disruption
Face
isn't
up numbers.
fair. Yeah, disruption isn't fair by some people's standards, but it is like conventional flesh and blood that is very refined at the level 0 deck. And then level 2, I would feel, is very unfair or very unconventional flesh and blood archetypes. Illusionists and Kano, which do um, silly things, which historically has been very good against the more fair. Again, that word maybe not be the most appropriate, but historically, these unfair things are good against the fair decks at level 1.
In in the previous meta, when it was like Hatchet Story and KO, and the format seemed to be okay, cool. Who's got the best consistent numbers for the most part? Um, I forget
Mhm.
the specific name of the deck, but it was the pseudo OTK Viscerai deck. Uh,
Oh
actually,
yeah, Turtle Fist.
yeah, Turtle Burst. That's what they call it. Yeah, Turtle Burst Viscerai would qualify as a level 2 deck in this scenario. You're playing reduced to rune chance and some D-reacts for good value that contribute to your primary game plan of an uber stack of rune chance that stacks so high that nobody in their right mind could block them out in one turn. And then you find a window where KO goes like, okay, well, I'm just gonna send 8 and arsenal a card this turn, and you're like, great, like, block one card, maybe a little bit of armor, and then awesome, now it's my turn. Slogism, Mavrian Skies, Arknight Ascendancy, attack for 30 on one go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those off the beaten path strategies sort of come into play here a little more often.
And I think it's important to remember that level 2 is not necessarily a dog into level 0. Kano, very reasonable to play into Zen. Zen is going to win on average, but it's not like a terribly unfavored matchup, right?
It's not a 0%er.
It's level right.
Prism Oldham.
It's level 2 because it's targeting level 1. If it was level 2 because it targeted level 1 and was bad against level 0, would be in a triangle and not targeting a best deck, which I've said a couple of times, but I feel is like an important distinction here.
Agreed. So, we talked level 0, level 1, level 2, giving you some examples from the current format. There's one more level that sort of exists outside of this 0, 1, 2 dichotomy.
It's the level of enlightenment.
It is the level of enlightenment. Level X. We didn't really have a good name for it, so right now it's just level X. And that is when you are a specialist, or in some cases just a loyalist, but you have one thing that you are dedicating your time and effort and energy to testing, whether it's because it's what you've got or it's just your favorite hero and your favorite way to play, and that's fine. But part of so there is the aspect of targeting a known meta, right? And I can sit here and tell you, like, we can say that, yeah, Zen is the best deck and here's the optimal ways to target it. But, that doesn't mean that you can't be this, like, Uzuri savant and very dedicated specialist who shows up with the perfect 80 for an event and goes in there and just dismantles Zens and News like it's your job and come out on top. Why? Because you know your deck inside and out better than someone who switched to Zen 3 weeks ago because it was the best deck.
Kevin, neither of us would know anything about being deck specialists. It's
no,
very foreign concept to us.
I tried being not a specialist, and it went really terrible last year at Pro Tour Baltimore. So
hey, me too. At Battle Hardened Columbus, where I played Lexi for one event, and it was a nightmare.
But important learning and growing experiences that, like,
yes,
you're better off playing a deck that you, even if it's like a slightly worse percentage, at least for us, the enjoyment factor in liking the deck you're playing, it does impact how you're going to play out a deck for at least some people. Not everyone, but at least some people.
So let's be clear why level X works. Because it is not favored into level 0, but Flesh and Blood is an incredible game of skill. And essentially every game, there is a lot of required matchup knowledge and depth to the decisions that both players are making with respect to their opponent's deck. Level X works, for lack of better words, because in most games of Flesh and Blood, you can skill gap your opponent. They will make mistakes, and if you make fewer mistakes than them, a lot of times you can steal those games. And if you know your deck inside and out, sometimes it doesn't matter what your opponent is playing, as long as you know how to play into them. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I just live here.
Just live perpetually at level X. Yeah, I definitely, and I think it depends on the meta and how things are positioned too, right? Like that, if I don't know, if it sort of just depends on how things match up into one another as to sort of where people tend to fit on this axis. So, for example, I know that our good pal Mark Morrison, generally speaking, he'll say, I'm not as good as the other players playing the best deck, so I want to play the deck that beats the best deck. He very specifically likes to be in that level 1 zone. And
likes to be in level 1, and his list has to beat the mirror. Those are like Mark's 2 rules about deck building.
Shout out to Promise of Plenty. But yeah, so level X exists not exactly for how to target a known meta, but there's how to target a known meta, and then there's also how to give yourself the best chance to be successful at a given event. And, you know, if I abruptly was like, oh crap, actually, just now in this moment, I've decided I'm going to fly to Amsterdam and I'm going to play in the Pro Tour, it would be a horrendous punt for me to be like, I guess I'll pick up Zen today and expect to, be having edges and outplaying people in the Zen mirror.
I would I would fly to Amsterdam if it meant I had to play Zen. I would take that folly, but that's a bit personal.
That's not to say I wouldn't do it. I think there are better avenues for me personally finding success at this stage, given how close the event is.
I mean, for essentially anyone, yeah.
Right.
Zen, comparatively brain dead aggro deck. Quite a few sequencing decisions you have to do in that deck. I know it looks really easy when you're on the wrong end of it, but that deck is still testing, to say the least.
And so these levels that we've come up with for the current format, those are, aside from Zen being level 0, which we feel is pretty obvious and probably fairly widely thought of as the level 0 for the format, the rest of these are sort of just approximations of how we kind of feel about things. There are ways, though, and Rhea has a bit more experience with this, but there are ways to basically get more mathematical, more exact with some of these level 0, level 1, level 2 determinations, and ways to sort of put some math behind your decision making and determine what is mathematically the optimal choice for you for a given event.
Yeah, so I wrote about this very briefly in the article that I wrote on the FabTCG website, but one of the things that we like to do over at Team Ascent is for each major event, we will make an Excel spreadsheet that has on one side every hero, and then down the so that's like columns, and then the rows are also every hero, and then where different rows and columns intersect, writing the percent of the time we expect the row hero to beat the column hero. So on the diagonal, it's 50% because those are mirror matches. But otherwise, you can fill in how you expect heroes to win, like what's a favored matchup, what's an unfavored matchup, etc. And then what you can do is, if you have an idea of how matchups are favored or not, for every hero, which is, of course, a lot to, it's a big task, I won't say it's not, but if you do that, and you add in some data of what you expect heroes to be represented as, like out of 100% of the meta, we think Zen will be 27%, 35%. How high do you think Zen is going for Amsterdam?
I would be surprised if it's under 30%.
Yeah, I think 35% is about where I would guess. So like you write 35% for Zen, you write 10% for new, etc., until for every hero you've added your expected meta share that adds up to 100. You can then math out weighted averages of, okay, what is Zen's expected win rate in a tournament on average if I play this hero X% of the time and have Y% of a win rate into them, and you sum that up across all of the heroes to say, okay, well, at a tournament that has this meta share, Zen has a 63% chance of winning his games, which I hope it's not that high, because that would be a monstrously best deck in the format. So you can do that for every hero. You can also do interesting things like looking at the weighted standard deviation. So for a given hero, you look at how different from 50% their matchups are, and you weight those changes, the standard deviations, by the expected percentages of heroes, the meta breakdown. And that can give you, it's not quite a unitless number, but it's like an arbitrary unit number that relatively describes how much of a gem roulette you're playing with a given hero. And what I mean by that is, think about two extreme cases. Kano has a lot of auto win matchups, like anyone with AV0 or Guardians, etc., where he just like, he'll win those matchups 90% of the time. And he has some 10% matchups, like Prism, where he just will hardly ever win, right? So there's a lot of gem variance there. And you can measure that quantitatively in how many matchups he has that are not close to a 50% win rate. On the other hand, something like Hatchet's Story, I think she never has a matchup that's more than like 60-65% favored or unfavored, except for Zen. So the example is a little outdated. So she'll have a very low gem variance if you compute that weighted standard deviation compared to a deck like Kano. And so with that expected win rate across the tournament and that measurement of gem variance, you can get a reasonable idea of how different decks are expected to perform. And that's a really good way both to define these levels. Maybe you don't want to play the deck with the highest win rate, but it can at least show you maybe what you do want to play in level 1. But also, this can show you just like what you expect the top 8 to be. Maybe you want to target the top 8 differently than the Swiss. That was a huge spiel.
That's a lot of math. It was a lot of math. For an example, I will make sure that there is a link to Rhea's article on the mothership down below in the description of this video. You can see sort of how the spreadsheet looks all laid out.
And you know, I said there's a lot of assumptions about what you expect the meta breakdown to be. What do you expect mashup win rates to be? You can do that guesswork yourself, but also we have this wonderful thing called Talishar, which publishes their monthly matchup data in terms of what heroes are being played and their matchups into every other hero. Talishar is not perfect, but it is a good place to start if you don't feel confident in putting those numbers in yourself or estimating them yourself. All right, I'm done. I promise.
No, absolutely. Talishar is a awesome tool that we have access to, and yeah, while the data isn't perfect data, it's definitely better than starting off with a guess. I will also say another factor to these sort of known meta equations or determining what deck you want to play for a given event. The level of the event also, so in addition to like split format or not,
yes.
the level or the tier of event also plays a part.
Yes.
We'll probably find, or just you can look at historical data and find that Pro Tour metagames tend to be, you know, not less diverse in like 15 heroes aren't going to get played. I would say most Pro Tours have had representation of most heroes, like even Worlds included, right? There's loyalists and diehards, and I was the Vincent at Worlds in Barcelona last year. But on average, the metagame at these tier 4 events is going to be more narrow. At PT1, like over 60 I forget off the top of my head, but it was like over 60% of the room was Prism Chain Starvo, which probably didn't come as a surprise to most players at the event.
I think way more than 60%. Yeah, I think it was closer to 70.
You know what?
And then Briar was like another 10% of it. I'm pretty sure.
I keep track of this somewhere. Let me pull up that particular spreadsheet and I can find out. Tier 4 metas.
Yeah. But as you, go ahead.
Pro Tour New Jersey day 1 metagame breakdown. Starvo is 37%,
Okay.
Chain was 21. Prism was just over 15. So, yeah, no, you're right. Just over 70% of the room was the Chain Prism
Yeah.
Starvo triangle.
So 73% was the triangle.
And day two, it only became more pronounced. It was like 82, 83% of the field on day two was those heroes. Um, that is a it doesn't always follow through exactly like that, but that's the sort of trend you'd expect at the higher level events. Um,
And noticeably, that gets more unfocused as you move down in event seriousness.
the early rounds of
For
callings.
example, yeah,
Oh,
the early rounds of callings, very unfocused. You'll be playing, more fringe decks like Arachne. Honestly, well deep into a calling, they anyone can get lucky and make a really good run at an event like that. But it's because the fields are less focused, it's more likely to happen at lower tier events like callings, battle hardens, etc. So don't go into your Living Legend skirmish expecting more than half the field to be chain, even though it probably should be if it was a Living Legend Pro Tour.
yeah, yeah. If it was a Living Legend Pro Tour like tomorrow, I well, that people had time to test for and prepare a bit. I think you're looking at a room that's over 60% like Zen Lexi chain,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Um, but
So
yeah,
that pyramid of event prize payout almost directly correlates to focusedness of the meta, and in turn, how important you picking your level is.
absolutely. But when in doubt, whip your specialist out.
Specialist
Go
it out.
do it. Play what you love. You will probably not regret it. Occasionally, you might a little bit. I can't
I,
lie. But
I will be doing it this weekend at New Jersey. I'm very excited. I'm
carrying
going to
the
be
torch
playing
for
the
specialists
most
everywhere.
the most jank Enigma you've ever seen, and I am excited about it.
You say Jank Enigma, you're gonna 10k some people, and it's gonna be great.
I'm so excited.
Well, that'll be a blast. I'm betting that I'll see you on coverage at least one of the days.
I hope so. I really hope so.
It'll be a fun trip. Uh, yeah. Any other closing notes on targeting metas or anything else we've talked about today?
I think that about covers it. I already yapped plenty with that whole spiel.
uh, Rhea's good at math. For anyone who didn't know that,
I'm
Rhea's
okay.
very good at math.
I,
Uh,
I, I dabble.
just a bit, just a bit.
I go to school for it a little bit.
Just a bit. It's a good school, I hear. It's a good school.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Uh, all right. Well, now that we're fully rambling, thanks everyone for hanging out, for watching the video. If you have any, I don't know, questions, thoughts, opinions on targeting metas or any of the levels we talked about, or the virtues of being a specialist, or vice versa, uh, you know, let us know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching the videos. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to. Uh, and otherwise, we'll. Oh wait, the Pro Tour's coming up.
Cursor is coming out.
Take your pick. Who's taking it down?
Oh crap! I
My
wasn't prepared for this.
my Canadian Nats prediction. I think. Well, I mean, Yuki made the top 8, so I was pretty close. I don't know if.
See, I messed up. I bet on Mia. Mia, known constructed specialist. He let me down in draft.
Oh, tragic, tragic.
Who am I betting on Amsterdam? Okay. I think we see I'm gonna tell you the finals.
Okay.
I think we see um, Mr. Bramble Snark, Yuha. Is it Yuha or Juha?
I am not 100% sure, but
In the in
Bramble Spark.
Yeah, in the finals versus Brian Lawrence. This is Brian's Pro Tour to win, and I am
Whew.
not. I'm not biased on that at all.
No, no homerism spotted. I think.
Here's
Oh,
the real prediction though. Here's the real prediction though. Ian, sorry, you're gonna get ninth again. It's fate.
oh no. Oh, how are you just gonna call him out like that? That's brutal. That's so brutal. Uh, so my dark horse pick
Okay.
is also going to show a little bit of my bias. And if he can get it together in draft, Jacob Bader from Team Eclipse.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I mean, otherwise, I would just like say Yuki again. I don't know how anybody could ever pick
Yuki is
against
a
Yuki.
Yuki is a
Just
great pick. Yeah.
yeah, safe.
I
Feels like
also
a safe bet to be in contention at any point.
I also really expect Ellie to go on a hot streak with the Bolton Armory deck upgrades. Um, I don't know that she's locked Bolton. I think she's still having some doubts about Zen, reasonably. But I really hope she makes a run deep with the Milbert.
Interesting. It's Evan in a similar situation, testing Evan also from Team Eclipse, testing out some of the Bolton upgrades and having some back and forth, some waffling on a few card choices because it's like, does this even help enough, or are we just what are we trying to do here? But nah, it'll be a blast to watch anyways. I'm very excited. But, all right, we've kept you long enough. Thank you for the predictions. See me being right 2 weeks from now in
And
Amsterdam.
I will be terribly wrong.
Nah, it'd be sweet if Brian took it down though. Brian's a phenomenal
Come
player.
on, Brian.
You got this. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. We're the IP3 signing off. We'll catch you next time. See ya.